Take a load off, man.
Are we starting now?
Yeah, unofficially, you know how I do it. And then I'll work in the, the best way to start.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were recording yet. Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about it is we could just kind of start.
But don't you want to have an intro? Don't you want to start off like other people's podcasts have sort of a, hey, this is John. Thanks for joining me today. This is my guest. This is what we're talking about. Blah, blah, blah.
That's the intro. I'm going to use that. That's it. That's the intro we're going to use.
No.
So, Nikki, say welcome to the future E.D.O podcast.
What's E.D.O?
We already talked about this. Remember episode 1? E.D.O, E for entertainment, D for dialogue, and O for I don't know what the fuck it is yet. I don't know what O is yet.
I forgot about that. All I remembered was Studio B.
Yeah. We've established that this is Studio B.
But the name of the podcast is going to be E.D.O?
Future E.D.O. I know you like that.
Why is it future?
Because it's the future of entertainment, man. This is you know what it is I just like the way it sounds, and I'm going to attribute meaning after the fact. So all I got right now is future, which I think is dope. It's a cool word. E for entertainment, D for dialogue, and O for we don't know what that is yet, but we'll figure it out. Maybe listeners can comment, be like, we think O should be this. Or we think your name just fucking sucks. Change it to the Johnny and Nikki show.
You want it to be called Welcome to the Future E.D.O podcast.
That's the intro. See, and I'm going to do echoes on it and shit.
No.
I think you're too far from the mic, by the way.
Too far?
You can, no. You can chill like that. Just turn the mic closer to your mouth. All right,
anyway,
Nick. Here we go again.
So, all right. Podcast number whatever.
Number 4.
Number 4.
And I think I'm going to break up parts 2 with a deer into 2 parts because that was it's an hour. It's 3 hours. So I might go 2 1.5 hours.
Well, you might merge it with this one.
What do you mean?
If this one isn't long enough, you can put the 2 together.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'll probably keep it separate, but I think we'll do all right. We'll be all right.
Okay.
So anyway, I might do 2 parts with me and a deer, part 1 and part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one that you and me did, I could probably break into 2 parts.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 2 1-hour segments because we went about 2 hours.
Oh yeah, I don't want it to go over an hour. People will lose interest after an hour, I feel like.
Yeah, it'd be cool to break it up. And, even if people that are eager to listen to the whole thing in one sitting, they could just go right to the very next thing in the playlist. So, yeah, I want it to be easy for people to kind of take in all the stuff. Because I know some of my favorite podcasters actually do go very long. But are you yawning?
Yeah. Has nothing to do
and that concludes the show, folks.
That has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I know. We've had a long day. Actually, I just got back from Mexico.
Okay. Tell us about it, John.
I took the train up, by the way. So we flew out of San Diego into Cabo San Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
So because my bike had a flat, I ran over a screw. So I can't ride. And it literally happened the day before I was supposed to leave. So I'm like, shit, I don't have enough time to get this bad boy patched up or get a new tire or whatever. So I was like, fuck it. Let's do let's take the Surfliner. So it's the train that runs from LA to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's a $5 Uber to my buddy's house who I actually flew out with.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up working out.
And what airline did you fly?
Alaska.
Interesting.
Which makes zero fucking sense. I'm like, how did we land Alaskan Airlines when we're flying from San Diego to Cabo San Lucas? Maybe that was a layover for them from Alaska.
Probably.
And we were on board with a bunch of Alaskans.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes.
It did. The plane did smell like cabbage. I knew there was something off about it. It had to be the Alaskans.
What? Do Alaskans smell like cabbage?
I hear they smell like cabbage and whale blubber.
Oh, really?
No.
I have an aunt that lives in Alaska. I've never been to visit her, but she lives there. She's lived there my whole life. And I've only met this aunt maybe 3 times.
I couldn't imagine living in a place like Alaska.
Well, a lot of ex-military end up living there because they get stationed there while they're in the military, which is what happened to her. And she got married and she loved it. And so she stayed there. And I know an ex-boyfriend of mine from high school, he was in the military and he got relocated there and he still lives there with his wife and kids now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that show? I'm sure it's not on anymore. It's been a while, but where it's about like the guys in Alaska that deliver goods on planes because that's the only way to get a lot of the stuff into certain cities or towns because they're so fucking isolated. Like there's no other way to get shit in. Like
because there's no roads. You have to take planes in.
So they have like a fleet of like these planes, like, you know, the little 2-seater or whatever cargo planes that just fly shit in, and it's like a really dangerous job. And yeah, you know, anything up there is probably pretty crazy because you're dealing with the elements.
I've never heard of that show. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but it was pretty good. But anyway, so Alaskan Airlines from San Diego to Cabo, pretty quick flight, like 2 hours, maybe even, about 2 hours. And I was surprised because I've been to Mexico many times, but I've never been to Cabo. Mm-hmm. But I was surprised at how desert-like the terrain was. Mm-hmm. It was very like a fucking desert. You know what I mean? like Vegas with an ocean view.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was cactus and like a bunch of mountains in the background, but like everything was sort of brushy. There was no vegetation.
I think multiple cactus is cacti.
Cactuses is cacti. You're right. So technically your name is plural. So we're talking about more than one Nicole when we say Nikki?
No. What?
Nikki?
It's cacti, though.
All right, fine. Cacti.
It is cacti.
Thanks for the correction. So yeah, it was very desert-like, and I'm like, this is weird. But yet it felt humid. It felt like I was in kind of like the tropics, like Miami or the Keys or something like that. It had that feeling in the air.
So what was it, like 80?
Yeah, I was like 80.
Nice.
But it gets cool at night, which was interesting.
Just like LA.
But just like LA, but it was fucking like gorgeous. Like once you got onto the ocean and we were in like this beautiful resort called the Riu Palace. And I think it's one of the best resorts in Cabo.
I'm pretty sure I've heard of it. I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've heard of Riu, which is it's like a brand, you know?
Yeah. When I've looked up all those vacations that I've never taken when I was researching all-inclusive resorts and then never went on the trip. I'm pretty sure I heard of it.
Yeah, so it was really nice. The complex, it was the most beautiful resort I've ever stayed in my entire life. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, if this were an American resort, if this were in Palm Springs or Vegas or whatever, $1,000 a night.
So you were there for 4 nights. How much did it cost you for the 4 nights?
All-inclusive, $480. And it was 3 nights.
$480 for 3 nights.
Meaning...
And then all your food and beverages were paid for, so that's great.
We could eat and drink as much as we wanted. 24 hours.
And was it the shit alcohol? Just like well vodka, well tequila?
Yes, but if you asked for good alcohol, they would just pour it.
Interesting.
So they had like Julio Añejo, which to me is good enough, you know, for like a tequila. I'm sure they didn't have like the high-end vodkas because it's in Mexico. I'm sure they know their tequila is better than their vodkas.
Right.
But it was all bottom shelf crap that you know if you have 3 drinks, you're going to get a hangover the next day.
Was wine an option?
Yeah, everything. Beer, wine, everything.
Wow, okay,
so
I need to go.
Hello?
We just cut out. So $480 for 3 nights. You got wine, which that's all I need to hear. So I definitely need to go to this place. How much was your flight?
About 4.
So your flight, from San Diego to Cabo is only 2 hours away. And your flight is almost as much as your hotel stay, which is all inclusive.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. And when you think about like by the second day at the pool, we're at the pool, I probably had at least 25 micheladas.
Nice.
And just that alone with lunch that we had, the dinner prior.
Was your plane ticket?
I mean, it already paid, the trip paid for itself. Mm-hmm. Like the hotel, the amount of money it cost me for that hotel room. Mm-hmm. I ate and drank that much by the second day.
Wait, so was it based on double occupancy? So if you shared a room?
I shared a room.
Okay, so if somebody is traveling alone, it would have been double.
No. That's the interesting thing because my friend that I traveled with, who I was sharing the room with, was paying, I think, around 5 something or low 5s. And by me coming in, it just kind of brought the cost down for him a little bit. It didn't cut it in half. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it just kind of, it's almost like the hotel room was very cheap. If you want to look at the overall cost of like everything, it's like the hotel room would have been like $20 a day. But you're getting all the meals and all that shit. And that's what you're kind of paying for, I think, is the meals and the alcohol. And the room is basically like, it's a comp, you know? So yeah, that was it, man.
So how was the wedding? Was it there in the resort?
Yeah, they had it right in front of the resort. Right on the beach. You know, flip-flops, you know, that kind of whole theme, the whole beachy, super cool pastor, like cracking jokes. It was fun. It was a good wedding.
Good. So I hear you had an encounter with a prostitute.
You know I did. So, we hit the town one of the nights, and I'm like, dude, we got to leave the compound. Like, we got to get out of here. This is like, you know, for me, it's like jail. It's like, it's a beautiful jail because everything's contained behind these huge walls. Okay. So you have all these, like 5 or 6 different restaurants. You have buffets. You have like 20 bars. You know, it's kind of like having the Bellagio as your, you know, but in Mexico.
Okay.
So that much access to different shit minus slot machines, you know? And so I'm like, yeah, let's get out. Let's get out for a night. So we did. We went to Cabo Wabo, which I had to go and check it out. Sammy Hagar's spot.
Okay.
And
they have one of those in Vegas, by the way.
Right, but this is the original.
Yeah, I know.
Which is very like Mexico. It's got like the colorful. I went to the one in LA like the other day, by the way, before I left actually.
There's a Cabo Wabo in LA?
Yeah, it's in the Hollywood and Highland.
Oh, well, nobody goes there.
Yeah. No, anyway, I went in there and I'm like, dude, this place sucks balls. It was like an Applebee's. I was like, fuck this place. So the Cabo Wabo in Mexico or Cabo is dope. It's like fun. They got a live stage, like bands playing all night. It was great. It was cool. So, but you know, it was kind of like a dead crowd. You know, it wasn't too crazy, kind of an older crowd. So, all right, let's just walk up and down the town. So we ended up going to this place called Squid Row.
Nice.
And I'm like, now I'm in Mexico.
Nice.
And actually, I'm going to have to post some pictures of this place.
Yeah, you do.
Because when you see it, I was very impressed because it reminded me of like the old Safari and Pussycat Club of Tijuana on Revolution Avenue. Revolucion. You never did that, did you? Growing up in San Diego, Tijuana is like a rite of passage because before you can legally drink in California, you can drink in Mexico. So we would go when we were 18. A lot of people when they were 15 would go down to TJ and just hit it hard.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's to me what Squid Row reminded me of. You know, the guys with the whistles and an MC just yelling crazy shit out, and you know the DJs, and it was fun. It was a good time. Yeah. Ooh, I'm like out of breath right now.
Really?
I am. You know, I'm out of breath because it took so much out of me. I did so much drinking. Holy shit.
And you don't drink that much.
Yeah, man. I mean, that day I told you about how much micheladas I had. Realistically, I probably had at the pool alone in the span of 3 hours, which I'm burnt as hell on my back. I probably had at least 15 to 20 micheladas.
How is that humanly possible? How did you not get alcohol poisoning or throw up?
Well, it's like half of it is tomato juice.
Okay.
So maybe you can cut that down to like, it's like 10 beers. I had like 10 beers.
Ooh, all those lectins.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me started on like this. Yeah, I'm on vacation. I eat whatever the fuck I want. When I'm back here, I do the good shit. Anyway, so
the prostitute, what happened? Oh my God.
Gotta catch my breath.
Jesus.
So we come back from Squid Row. I'm annihilated, right? Come back to the resort, go straight to the bar, right? The bar's open. One of the bars open 24 hours. And there's this pretty girl there, you know, this pretty brunette, you know, wearing a cute little clubby dress. So I go straight to her and I go, hola.
He's such a loser.
And she starts, and she was already working on some other dude, you know?
Yeah.
But then the moment I like got in between them and I started talking, and then next thing you know, she's working on me. And the thought crossed my mind at that point that she could be a prostitute because it was like 4 a.m. There was very few amount of people, but she could have been a girl that was legitimately like, because you know how girls dress these days. You girls dress these days when you go out. You really can't distinguish a prostitute from a normal girl all the time. Sometimes they're so blatantly promiscuously dressed that you're like, okay, clearly you're a prostitute.
Okay, but either way, if it was 4 a.m., that girl was trolling for sex.
She was trolling for something.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out with her and we're talking, she's, showing me pictures on her phone and how she likes to bake cakes. She's showing me pictures of cakes. So I'm like, okay, this girl might be real.
Wait, was she Mexican?
She was, but she lived in Los Angeles. She said she lived in Chino or Chino Hills or some kind of East LA shit.
So why was she there?
According to her, she was there for a birthday party.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so there's a story here. She's not Mexican. She's not like a local. Or at least that's how she's selling herself to me. She's not. She's just being this girl. And she kept telling me, I was like, oh, you're cute. She's like, oh, you're cute. And, we're kind of having that exchange. I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, you want to play pool? And there's a couple pool tables back there. So like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's play pool. I'll butter her up a little bit before I take her back to the room, And so we're playing pool and we're hanging out with this dude who she introduces me as, what was his name? Tony. And he was also like a Mexican guy, but apparently lived in wherever. And they're all friends here for that someone's 30th birthday party. Supposedly they were all together, just like we were all together for my friend's wedding. And so I'm playing pool with them, and I'm just getting kind of a strange vibe. And I can't put I'm annihilated, but yet I still kind of have like this sixth sense, that maybe there's something up. And the funny thing is in retrospect, had I been completely sober, probably right away I would have been able to make a proper assessment as to are they working me or not. But the fact that I'm sitting here, I'm not 100% sure, but I'll get to the better part of the story, which kind of tells me that I'm like 99% sure. But the fact that I'm even questioning it means that I was fucked up because you don't have your awareness.
Right.
Anyway, so we're playing pool and we finish a game. It was a fun game. And then we're like, let's play another game. I'm like, fuck. Meanwhile, like drinks are coming. So I'm thinking, well, maybe this girl's trying to get me fucked up, But she's doing shots with me. It's not like, it's just, here, drink this, And towards the end, we're back at the bar. And what happened was she said, walk with me down to the beach. It's 5 a.m.
No.
Sun's not even up yet.
No.
Okay?
No.
And I'm like, no. I was like, why don't we just go to the room? She's like, oh, no, walk with me down on the beach first. Like, this, that. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. That's like where I'm like.
Yeah, so they can rob your ass.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is she probably, not the guy she was with, this older man named Tony, not him, but probably she would have phoned it in on her smartphone, which I knew she had. And, the moment I said, yeah, let's go, and, knowing that I was fucked up and that maybe I was just thinking with my dick, here, let's go down. And that's probably where it could have been even worse than being robbed. I mean, this could be like some kidnapping shit, some ransom shit.
Yeah.
Or, let's just take this kid for what he's got. I've heard of stories where they throw you in a fucking trunk and they go to every ATM in town and they fucking just empty you out.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Until the card declines and shit like that.
And then who knows what they do with you after. And I mean, shit, just watch Forensic Files. There's all kinds of crazy
they don't give a
stories.
fuck. And so, I looked this shit up. I'm like, is this a hustle? And apparently not maybe that specific thing that I the strange girl asking you to walk down on the beach. I didn't see any specific story, but there was a lot of complaints of prostitution in that compound and in Cabo in general, but not just the place I was at. And there were a lot of complaints about being robbed, people getting robbed in their room.
Their room?
Like if they left shit. And what's funny is the alarm also went off because on the first night when we went to, me and my room flatmate came to get some dinner, we heard people walking away from the staff saying something about a police report being filed.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is in a place looking like the Bellagio.
Well, if things were being stolen from the room, then it's the housekeeping.
Right. I mean, yeah. So it goes to remind you that no matter how pretty and crazy this place is, or it looks, or as safe as it's still fucking Mexico. And at the end of the day, and I'm not bagging on Mexico because I have a special place in my heart for Mexico, but it doesn't separate you fully from the reality of that country, which there's a lot of poverty.
Right.
It's still kind of on the third world. It really is. It's not full on, but I forget what they call it when it's like developing. But it's like almost like in the same lines as Brazil.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like preying on the tourists because when you don't have money and there's unfairness in your, government and social policies, you basically get Compton as a whole country. And that's what Mexico, it's kind of like Mexican Compton or East LA, but the whole country's that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, how did your evening end then after you denied her the walk on the beach?
Oh yeah, she was. Hold on. Let me just take my shoes off real quick. Get comfy too. I like how you're like kicking your feet up on the bed.
Yeah, I'm chilling
on our soundproof mattress.
It's our buffer.
All right. What were you saying? What were you asking?
I said, how did your evening end after you said no, you didn't want to walk on the beach? Then you just left, or
so I left.
You were just like, okay, bye.
There was actually one girl from our party that was there, which I didn't know she was. She was at the bar while I was playing pool, but she was there at the bar. So when we walked up to the bar, and then the girl propositioned me to walk down, come just walk with me on the beach. It'll be fun. And I'm like, no, I'm going to sit here and finish my beer. And maybe, if you want, you come back to my room. And I'm kind of cloudy at this point because at this point, I'm pretty fucking gone. Okay. But my friend, or the girl that was with our party, she's the last one left in our party that had stayed that late, who had gone out with us earlier. And she was there, and I looked at her and I was like, well, hey, let's call it a night. I'll walk you to your room. And she told me later that the way I was talking to her at that point, she thought I was on drugs. But I'm not saying that I was, and I wasn't drugged at all. I'm positive of it. But she thought it was strange that I was asking me to walk her, but I was trying to end what was going on with these people, this Tony guy and this girl. And so she's finally gave in, like, okay, fine, I'll let you walk me. She's like, I don't fucking know why, but I'll let you walk. But I told her the story on the way back to the hotel room. She's like, holy shit. Now I know why you were acting so weird. I was like, that's why I was acting so weird. I was like, giving her the eyes, like, let me just walk you to the room, She's like, I'm okay. I'm like, come on, bitch. I'm going to fucking walk you to the room. And so I told the story, and then I came back to the bar.
After you walked her to the room.
Because I was, at this point, this is how I start stewing on it.
And then you got angry.
I'm getting mad. I'm like, these motherfuckers. So I go back to the bar, and completely gone. No one's there. Bartender's there. The guy that was there earlier.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I didn't mention this. Earlier on in the night, I was giving him looks like kind of gesturing with my eyes, to the girl and the guy, like, what the fuck is this? Is this real? And he wasn't giving me shit. I'm like, fuck, all right. And, I couldn't really find a nice in to get him privately and be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Are the, you're the bartender. If these guys are fucking hustling me or not. So I came back. It was just him. And I said, hey, bro, on the real, like, I just want to know, like, that was a puta, right? The girl earlier was a puta, which means prostitute. And it means bitch, but also means prostitute. And he's like, yeah. I was like, they were hustling me, weren't they? And he's like, yeah. And I looked at him, and I could tell, like, the way he was saying it to me was he was, like, ashamed because he was part of it. Think about it.
Why would he admit that to you then? Why would he say yes if you asked him a question? He could have just said, oh, I don't know.
I think he caved in, man. Maybe the way I came at him. Like, I was angry.
Well, why do you think the bartender was in on it?
No, I don't mean like that. I think he was aware. I don't mean, okay, let me backtrack. I don't think he was in on it like, they have an arrangement beforehand. I think that he was aware because maybe he sees her there a lot of times.
Well, she might be there every night.
That's what I'm saying. So he probably knows it, but he's not like part of the hustle.
Yeah.
But she did say to me throughout the evening, make sure you tip him. Because a lot of tourists don't fucking tip because it's all inclusive. So if you're not paying any money, then usually people don't actually take money out of their pocket to give to the bartender.
Right.
So she kept saying, make sure you tip him. I'm like, dude, I'm a fucking bartender too. I know about tipping. But I kept throwing him like, $3, $5, 50 pesos or 100 pesos each round, So it's kind of like, maybe he knew and they probably had a little bit of a rapport, but I don't know if he was necessarily like, he's like getting a cut if they rob me or they do whatever that he gets it. I don't think it works that way.
I don't know. She probably tips him for him not to go to the manager and complain.
Probably. And the fact that he's the only one on and it's like 5 a.m, like, he can get away with more shit.
Right. So she probably has this deal like, I'm in here every night. I'll give you, like, we'll tip you. Just don't say anything to get us kicked out type deal.
Right. So yeah, I gave him this look when he admitted it to it. Like, you fucked up, bro. Like, come on, throw me a fucking bone, But really, I didn't say, but I definitely thought it in my head with the moment that girl said, come down and walk with me on the beach. I could just feel the blood rushing in my face, like the anger. And I just want to say to her, do you think I'm fucking stupid? Like, really?
Well, it is impressive, though, with all the alcohol you've had, that you had your senses about you enough to not do that.
Well, you think about it, during the afternoon, I had, like I said, about 20 micheladas. So maybe 10 beers worth, because he cut it in half with the tomato juice. And my God, cocktails, or not cocktails, but beer. That's what we were doing, beer all night. And I probably had a total of like 7 shots of Cabo Wabo when we were out there, and various high-end tequilas while I was, playing pool with them. We were drinking Julio and whatnot. But overall, it was a lot of booze throughout the day. But honestly, like, if you're going to drink, you should drink beer, because at least it keeps you like somewhat hydrated, and it's harder to get fucked up on beer than it is tequila or cocktails. If you were hitting margaritas all night, you'd be fucking done. Get what I'm saying? So it allows you to keep having that drink in your hand.
Yeah.
Without getting completely fucked up, So I was probably, 3 shots away from blacking out.
Well, I've never seen you that drunk.
Neither have I.
I think, how long have we been friends now? I know we've talked about this, and at this point, I don't remember how long it's been. You know
what it is my high tolerance, I think, for alcohol. I probably haven't blacked out since I was in high school, to be honest. And I'm not saying like it's good that I drink or it's good that I drink that much, but rather the fact that I have a high tolerance probably helped me with that situation.
Well, yeah, let's see. I think I've known you about 6 years now, and I've seen you really, really drunk, I think, once.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not something I like to do. I'll have a beer, or I'll kill a couple beers when I get done late at night, with a gig or with bartending, whatever, just to kind of, take a load off. But I'm not one of these guys that like, I like to go out and just get fucking annihilated. But there was something about the environment of Mexico that is just so encouraging to that.
Well, when you're on vacation,
the fact that it's just like...
And it's free.
It's free. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, the fact that I can go to any bar in that resort and just keep ordering drinks is like,
you feel like you have to. Like, it's an obligation to consume everything that is in your eyesight.
Yeah. But, so that was my Mexico prostitute story.
Well, I'm glad you made it out alive.
Yeah, me too, man. But yeah, again, after the fact, kind of researched a little shit on the phone and seeing, what are some of the reports? What are some of the cases? And it's very common for people to get robbed in their room, or they leave shit, not like physically robbed, but like they come back and shit's gone. So that's very common, even in this 5-star resort. And
all these resorts have safes. Just put your shit in the safe.
Nope.
What?
They rob it from the safe. Some of the reports were like, we put XYZ in the safe. We come back and that shit's gone. So maybe they have a way to break into the safe, or they have a master code.
There is a safe. I know for a fact that hotels also have safes, like in like the manager's office.
I mean, think about this.
So if you have like really expensive jewelry, you can put it there too.
Well, think about this: is they have to have a way to reset the safe, because if they didn't, whenever people would leave and have their own code, like they would never be able to get into the fucking safe.
So the safe basically does nothing, because you just go in there you know how to reset the code.
And you're also, and you know what? I kind of had a hunch on this. I didn't know this going in, but now I know. But I think a lesson learned is with safes, maybe not all, but at least some of these safes down in Mexico, the kind where it's like an electronic keypad and you put in a number, is think about it. Like, they need to be able to get into the safe. If you set a code, whether you put something in it or not, doesn't matter. If you set a code, that safe is done if they cannot
reopen it.
Yeah. So when you think about that, so when you put valuables in a safe, you are marking your shit. Because the safe is where valuable shit lives. Versus if you stuff it somewhere.
What you need is a good old combination lock.
Fucking A. Yeah.
You know, nobody's going to come equipped with those fucking lock cutters into your room. So
Yeah, no, you got a point.
if you have something that you can lock it up in and just use a good old-fashioned lock, that's probably the best way to go.
That's probably the best way to go. Exactly. So anyway, yeah, that's my Mexico story. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're back alive and you had fun.
It was fun.
So
It was fun.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Mexico. I really enjoy it. I always have a good time in Mexico. Yeah.
Why? I don't know. I hope to get there one day, but I've never been. So
I don't know how you've lived in LA as long as you have. And you haven't even been to San Diego, am I right?
Right.
What the fuck?
Well, why don't you invite me, John? I don't know anybody in San Diego. You're from there. You could be the tour guide. You have all the friends.
Fair enough. Fair
Right.
enough.
So
We'll go.
there.
We'll go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you don't mind crashing on a couch, man, we'll do it.
That's fine.
All right.
I can do it, but I
Cool.
definitely want to go for sure.
Yeah.
I only have 2 stamps on my passport. One is Aruba and the other one is Australia. That's it.
Where is Aruba?
I don't remember. It's very, very far south and it's very tiny and it doesn't even show up on certain maps.
I mean, I've heard of Aruba,
I
but
think
I
it's
have
like south of...
geographically. Is it what like? Is it in South America? Is it like?
No. I'm pretty sure it's like south of the Bahamas, maybe.
Okay, so it's in like that. It's in that whole area then.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's like very close to the equator.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, the water there.
Clear as fuck water.
Clear, and it's like bath water. There's no waves. It's just like tranquil bath water.
Yeah, that's probably the Bahamas or the whatever they call all those islands down there, which I think actually is the Bahamas, but
it's further south.
Further south.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Actually, then that's when it almost starts getting close to New Zealand and like Australia.
No, not over there.
Fuck it.
No, we sound so bad, so stupid. No,
I'm gonna look at a map right now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. But
yeah,
that's so bad. Like we don't know geography.
So yeah, you got to come to San Diego. The thing is because you're in the entertainment business, I'm in entertainment. You know, we do artistic things. LA is the place for that. Or one of the meccas for that kind of shit, right?
Right.
If you are not in the entertainment business, then I say, why the fuck would you be in LA? I'm not trying to be like LA sucks, but I'm saying like, you know, get a few years in, enjoy it for what it is. Because when I first moved up here, I fucking loved LA. And now that I'm a little bit older and I've gone through the whole thing and I've, you know, done the scene here and whatnot, like, if I wasn't in entertainment, I would zero chance be here. There'd be no reason for me to be here.
Well, you've lived here for 8 years and then left, and now you've been back for
almost a year.
Almost a year. You've put in 9 years in LA.
Yeah.
Whereas the first time I lived here, I was here for 2 years, and now I've been back for a year. So I only have 3 years total in LA.
Okay, so you're not quite as jaded as I am.
No,
but also you're not from here because I'm from San Diego, which is very. I mean, it's not the same, but there's a lot of similarities.
But you're still a Cali boy, born and raised. So
yeah, bruh. Yeah. Well, I'm looking up Aruba, and there's an Aruba in Chula Vista. There's an Aruba salon. It's not giving me anything.
Why don't you say like the island of dumbass?
Island of Aruba.
Did you find it?
I think so. Hold on. I did. All right, let's see where we are. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's way the fuck down there. It's by Venezuela. So it's south of the it's south of Cuba and Haiti and all that shit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically South America.
Yes,
Yeah.
but nowhere near New Zealand. It's not on that side of the equator.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I was thinking of was the islands like Singapore and Malaysia. I was confusing those because those are the ones that run into like start getting close into
or even like
New Zealand
like
territory.
Bali and Fiji and all of that.
Right. Anyway, yeah, that looks like paradise, man. I've always wanted to go to South America, and I have not made the trip yet.
I can't afford to go anywhere. I want to travel and see the world, and that's why I haven't even gone down to San Diego, which is 2 hours away.
You are the definition of a struggling actor. I love it.
I don't love it.
So you said you had a story for me.
A story. Well.
And you said you couldn't tell me the story because we had to talk about it here.
So I went and got my medical marijuana card on Saturday.
Oh, shit.
And that was an interesting experience. So let me just preface this by saying that I don't do drugs, and I haven't smoked weed since I was maybe 18, and I'm now 35. So that should give you a reference point here.
Yeah.
So, and my reason for doing this is because I fractured my rib back in December. And so it's going on 5 months now, and I'm still in a lot of pain. And it's just kind of to the point where it's making me insane. And the doctors don't really have any answers for me except, oh, you shouldn't be in pain anymore. I'm like, great, now what? And they're just not doing anything.
Right.
So I've chilled out on like lifting weights. I'm just doing cardio and legs, but I stopped doing upper body. But it still hurts. So I went and I decided I wanted to get CBD oil. Oh, sorry, I'm making all kinds of noise. Johnny's freaking out. I went and I wanted to get CBD oil because I read an article. Actually, it was the University of Tel Aviv, I believe, did this study that CBD oil over the course of time actually helps bone fractures heal faster and the bone to regrow thicker and stronger than
Interesting.
Before.
CBD or not
So I don't
THC, but the CBD.
So they take the CBD is in a tincture, dropper bottle, and they have removed the THC from it.
Okay. So you don't get high from CBD.
No, you don't get that high feeling that whatever comes along with it. You're just getting the medicinal benefits without the high. Tonight will be my first night using it. I didn't use it yesterday.
Are you going to do it live for us?
No.
Do it live for us, Nick.
No, I'm going to do it.
So we could see you freak out on...
No, there is no freak out. I didn't do it last night because they gave me a free joint. So remember, I haven't smoked since I was 18. She just threw it in there. She's like, oh, this one is uplifting and slightly calming. And so I smoked half of it, and I immediately just couldn't move. Became paralyzed.
Wow.
I was sitting on a couch, and I was like, whoa, I can't function. So I'm like, I need to lie down. So I went into my room, and I had on some meditational music on and my Himalayan pink sea salt lamp.
You're such a fucking hippie. I love it. It's that's what LA's done to you. It's turned a nice East Coast girl into a dirty hippie.
So I lay down and I'm like, whoa. And the minute I laid down and my head hit the pillow, I felt like I was melting into my bed. And I literally saw outer space and the universe, and my body was becoming part of it.
Holy shit.
It was like
just you sitting there in the dark.
Yeah, it was a mushroom trip.
Yeah.
Basically. The experience I've had in the past doing shrooms is what happened to me yesterday, just from smoking half of this joint.
Isn't it crazy how, and I get a lot, I don't smoke either. I haven't smoked since early college. So over 10 years, And when I used to smoke, weed was more mild, as they say. And it's over the years, they've been like making these monster strands with like this ridiculously high percentage of THC. So basically back in the day, it was like chronic, mech, and mexi. That's what we used to call we had like 3 types of weed back in the day. I didn't even think we were sophisticated enough to know whether it was sativa or indica or any of that shit. It was just, dude, you got the mexi shit. It's cheap as fuck. You need to smoke like 3 joints to like feel something. And then you got mech, which was kind of like in between. And then you had chronic, which was like the good shit that you could see like the THC crystals on it. Nowadays, every fucking weed that I see, like when people buy that shit from the dispensaries, I mean, it's sticky. It's got like this fucking, you know what I mean? It's got that the crystals all over it, and you're like, dude, this is like monster Godzilla fucking weed.
I mean, I have no idea. To be honest, like there were so many different glass jars with different labels on it and just all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, that's so outside of my wheelhouse. I just felt, I'm like, I don't know what any of this shit is. I'm like, I'm just here for this oil. I don't want all of this shit to smoke. And I did get an edible.
Okay, watch out for edibles.
No, it was a small cookie, and she had said to break it into 4 pieces and only eat a quarter.
Did you do that yet?
No, I'm saving that.
Because I hear people go on insane trips if they eat edibles, even like small amounts. Like I've heard stories where a guy took like 1 or 2 bites of a candy bar and literally felt like he had to go to the hospital. Yeah,
I was going through some shit last night. Literally, I seriously felt like I was outer space.
And you smoked half a joint.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you finished the whole thing?
I would probably have gone to the hospital.
Yeah.
For real.
See, the funny thing about weed is, everyone, proponents, and I'm not against it. I'm very much for weed. But for my own personal recreation, like I'm not into it. It's just my mind takes weed probably similarly to you, where it's like a mushroom. It's like no joke. It's like a mushroom chip.
Well, I liked it because I've been wanting to get my hands on some shrooms because it's been a while since I've shroomed, and I very much like to do shrooms because it's a mind expanding drug.
Absolutely.
And I always I've only had one bad trip. All the other trips have been amazing, and I always feel like so much more enlightened and knowledgeable, and I feel like information came to me. So I think it's a necessary tool. It's just the issue was I was not expecting that to happen.
Right.
That is not what I was planning on getting out of that. I thought, because she said it's calming and uplifting, I just thought it would put me in a good mood.
Yeah, uplifting as in you're going to the fucking moon.
Yeah, exactly. Like it took me out of my body. And so I wasn't prepared for that because, when you do shrooms, you know what you're in for, and you get ready and you plan for it, and you know what your evening is going to be.
Set and setting. The whole thing is very important.
Well, I had no idea that was going to take me down that road. So it was very unexpected. But I literally just, all these things, all these people's faces were flashing before me. People that I didn't even know, like talking to me, giving me information. But with each sentence, it was a different person's face.
What?
It was just like
What were they saying?
I can't even remember now.
Can't recall it?
And it's so funny because in my mind, when this was happening, I was talking to myself and I kept saying, I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to forget. I don't want to forget. And then the other part of my mind is like, yeah, you will forget. You absolutely will forget.
Every time I have when I used to smoke weed, I used to have huge epiphanies about the nature of the universe. Yeah. And I used to have that, not like faces talking to me and shit, but like very profound ideas and thoughts. And like, I can't forget this. Like I figured out how the universe works. Like I figured it out. And then
it goes
the
away.
Next day you're like, fuck.
Well, I
lost it.
And I had that grasp when it was happening. I'm like, I need to remember this. I need to remain aware of this. But the other part of my brain was like, no, you will forget, and you have to forget, and you must forget. Because when other things were just like being like coming to me, it was overwhelming me. And then that little voice in the back of my mind is like, that is why you need to forget.
Wow.
That is why you forget all the time, because if you were consciously aware of how vast and great and all of this,
you would be high. You would never leave the trip, right?
Your body you would just explode. Yeah. You would like implode on yourself. Like you can't remain in that space,
right? Because
it's too much. So you must forget. That's why like we don't, like all these enlightened masters say, like, we don't remember who we are. We don't remember our connection to the divine. And it was coming to me last night that like, this is why humans like us, we have to forget, because if you remain in that space, like you'll fucking die.
You can't function in society. See, that's the problem. Actually, it could be argued that we should be in a state like that. And
I wouldn't have been able to leave my bed ever.
Well,
it was too great.
Well, that we don't live in a society that type of existence is acceptable or possible for you to contribute to society. In other words, if you're in a more of a tribal kind of deal, I think at that point where you have shamans and you kind of have a ritual that goes along with it, and in a very tolerant group of people that you're very close to, you know, your tribe, your family, that you can be in certain states like that prolonged and be able to function in that society. But you are completely unable, where you have to operate a 3,000-pound machine to get from A to B.
You can't function
and you have some asshole boss telling you what to do. Like, you cannot. But I think in more of like a natural setting.
But even still, no, that's why they have like sweat lodges, and the Native Americans had sweat lodges. You go in there and you hallucinate, and then you come out and then you go about your daily life. You can't remain in that state. You can't.
They say that shamans are constantly in that state.
Well,
so you, Nikki, would become a shaman.
Listen, there's a reason there's so very few shamans, okay? So all I know is that I was the whole universe, and I kept seeing myself go, like, fold inside of myself, and just keep, it was the yin and the yang, and it was like then the earth, and it just kept getting sucked into a circle back inside of itself. And I was everything, and everything was me, and everything was connected, and every person I've ever talked to or interacted with is also me. Like, I saw myself like as this round ball, and then became flat, and then these little projections coming up from it, like talking to each other. But I'm like, oh, well, this projection has a different face, and this projection has a different face, but they're all me because they're stemming from like my body, which is like this flat surface. And then it rolled back into a ball.
For those who are just
started over again.
For those who are just tuning in, she is not talking about DMT. She's not talking about acid. She is talking about half a joint that she got from the dispensary down the street. Which one did you go to, by the way?
It's called. Well, I don't know if I should say it.
Location. Give me the location.
It's in Silver Lake.
It's in Silver Lake? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And I walk in, this was my first time in the dispensary, and there's just like these 3 really cute Asian girls just sitting there, bowls of weed that they're like picking through, I guess, like picking this, I don't know what you do, like picking the stems,
I don't know how that works.
They were picking like the leaves off and like the part that you smoke and throwing the other parts away, just giant bowls out in the lobby, just picking through it. Like, oh, hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then like the actual store is like through a gated, like buzzed door behind where they were. And I went in, and then there's like all these counters and like people working back there. And they only accept cash though, which is a little bit of a bummer. So you really have to have money to go in there. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. What a crazy experience. This is why I think we need to have experiences like that. Not every day, but every once in a while. I think it takes you out of the fucking shell.
Yeah.
It takes you out of the box. And I'm more especially speaking about psychedelics. I don't know if people tend to have the same weed experiences like you and I have, probably because we just don't smoke enough of it. So it's very powerful to us. But also I know people that have gotten master's degrees stoned the entire 6 years in college or whatever, the whole time.
That was one of the things that crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, she said it's calming and uplifting. And I'm like, well, people smoke joints and then go to the gym and lift weights, or smoke a joint and then like go close a business deal. And I'm like, I couldn't even leave my bedroom. I don't understand how they function like that.
It would be a miracle if I was able to walk down the street to Gelson's, the store, and get what I needed and come back. It would be a fucking miracle. Yeah. And here's the funny thing is how they say, you know, there are no like known deaths attributed to cannabis, to weed smoking. And I say, you know, probably not directly, but I'm sure indirectly, because guys like me, if I smoke enough weed, I would probably do some stupid shit that just got me injured or killed. Not the weed itself, but the actions that resulted from the weed. That's just me though.
Like what?
You know? Like what? Like, maybe crossing the street and getting hit by a car, just not paying attention, misjudging shit. I mean, I would probably literally be that guy that was standing on the corner waiting for the sign to turn to the walk guy and not being sure if that's my turn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like not like complete, because I lose perspective of time. And I guess it's a good way. It's a good thing because I think I have I'm probably one of those people that is like just like 2 inches away from like full blown schizophrenia. So if I have like the right trigger, I'm probably gone. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think because I'm already kind of out there, like in the mind, like and this is, I think, is what makes me artistic, because I look at things in a way in which, you know, I'll attribute certain meanings or look at it in a different way, I guess you can say, than Joe Schmo, you know? And so to my advantage, I could probably sit here and smoke weed and come up with some really cool artistic shit, write a badass song, which I've been debating doing, is kind of going back to not smoking like regularly, but once in a blue moon, so I can get some inspiration. But I may not know how to work my computer at that point or how to plug in the computer. So I probably have to have everything set up and ready to go beforehand. And then I can start playing around with it.
Yeah.
But that'll be yet to be seen. But like you said, shrooms, I think I'm getting closer to doing a shroom trip.
Please. I'm so sick of hearing you say that. You've said that to me for years. Years.
No, I said to you that in a few years I'll be ready, that I'm not ready yet.
Okay, but I met you 6 years ago, so when the fuck are you going to be ready?
I think I'm getting close. Yeah, I think I'm getting close. The reason why I've waited so long is because there was a time when I did get into drugs. And I think it unhinged me a little bit. So I recall a time when I did way too much cocaine. And I put my family through hell after that experience. And I could have very, very well killed myself through overdose. And I feel like I was sort of not me for almost like an entire year. Like that's how bad it affected me. So I think it was like, I got to kind of get back to me, you know, and then I can start thinking about, you know, doing the thing is, you can't put psychedelics, you can't put all drugs under the same umbrella. That's the ridiculous thing about it. Heroin is not the same as weed, is not the same as an aspirin, is not the same as a dick pill.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But anything that alters your state of mind, I wasn't ready for that. But now I think I'm finally like, okay, enough life experience has gone by, enough cleansing, enough, you know, coming back to who I am and my confidence in who I am, all that shit. Now I think I'm ready for another journey.
That's why we need to get shrooms and we need to go up to like Joshua Tree or fucking Big Bear or somewhere. We need to go camp a night and just do it.
Yeah, and you know the funny thing is shrooms to me was just as powerful, or I should say the other way around, weed was just as powerful to me as shrooming was, except less visual. But the same mental stimulation, the same profound thinking was present with shrooms. However, there was kind of like this added bonus with shrooms where you kind of, I think the thoughts were a bit more profound and a bit more spiritual. You know, it had this element of spirit. For me, it had this element of the magical world. Last time I did shrooms was in the forest with some buddies. Never invite people that are not shrooming with you and who you do not know well.
Oh, no, you have to be around your close circle.
And that's the lesson I learned from that, because trip was awesome up until then. And then once someone had called somebody to come, and it was this couple. And you know what they were doing? They were fighting.
Oh, no.
And here we are at the peak of our trip, and this couple is fighting. And this guy is literally throwing bottles of beer. Crash. And we're thinking, he's going to fucking murder her.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now we go on this bad trip, and we're like tripping the fuck out. And it put me on a bad one for the second half.
Yeah.
And I was like, after that, never again. I'm going to know everyone present very well, and everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the rule. So set and setting is a very real thing. And if you look that up, they did do studies where people, I don't know how the fuck they did this, but they were able to do studies of people that did heroin or the equivalent of heroin, opiates or whatnot. And we're talking like very similar dosages, and that people would literally die from heroin overdose, same dosage as other people, because the setting was not good. And I don't know how the fuck you prove this in this study, or even if I'm just pulling this out of my ass. I did read this, but it was something to the effect that the set and setting, who you're with, how you feel going into the trip and throughout the trip can literally be life or death. Maybe not with psychedelics, but with like hard drugs. Now with psychedelics, we all know you don't want to go on that bad trip because it's a nightmare that you cannot get out.
No.
If you're on a good trip, you will learn a fuck ton about yourself, about the universe, about your priorities. What the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? That's the amazing thing about psychedelics is you really start to look at yourself from a very seemingly objective perspective. Like, wow, look at the patterns. Look how I go about my day. Look what I'm doing with my life. And it is not unknown for people to completely change their life from like one ayahuasca trip.
I've done ayahuasca, by the way, and I will never do it again.
That's right, you did. I want to hear about that. Before you do that, I'm going to use the bathroom.
Okay. I'm good. I might as well use the bathroom when you're done.
Let me open